Hello everyone, welcome to the 29th of May, 2017, and something closer to the actual second anniversary of this show. As I mentioned in the notes to last week's episode, I discovered on checking up that I actually posted the very first Monday Miniatures Ramble on June 1st, 2015, and June 1st this year is on Thursday, so the day after tomorrow. There must have been a 53rd week one of these years. Or maybe it's the fact that I'm counting from episode 1 instead of episode 0. Yeah, that could complicate things. But anyway, in case you didn't know, I'm Dakian, and it's time to show you some miniatures. I got quite a lot done this week. Here we have a whole army of the female militia from Blind Beggar Miniatures. Some things to note: the general color scheme is a sort of a khaki for the skirts and hats, white shirts, blue ties. A few exceptions, like sometimes this one has a blue headscarf as well, and there's a couple with blue hats. And anything else? Oh, there's the flag, which is lovingly handcrafted by yours truly. Very amateurish, but it works. And there's a lot of heavily armed ladies here. I especially like this one, who is Ramboing a Lewis gun. You know, not particularly realistic, but it's a fun visual. Most of them have rifles, like probably Lee Enfields or something like that, bolt-action rifles. A few have shotguns, and a few aren't at all. I mean, this one is probably some sort of officer. She has a pistol at her belt and is not holding anything. She's just pointing. And this, the one with the headscarf, I don't think she's armed at all. She's probably a medic, maybe she's pacifist or something. She's just carrying a lot of gear. And she had an armband where I painted a reversed Red Cross symbol, because should be a white band with a red cross on it, but that wouldn't look good against the white shirt. So hey, it's a fantasy thing. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to zoom in too close on most of these because they don't bear close inspection. As with most Blind Beggar miniatures, the sculpts are pretty simple, but effective at arm's length. And strangely enough, this is not the only thing I got painted this week. I actually painted more stuff. So hang on and let me show you that. I've painted 5 more guys, and let's start with the odd man out, the guy in the middle here. This is the Reaper miniature called General Drake, and I've painted him, as you can perhaps see, in the M. Bison color scheme from Street Fighter. It's not an exact replica of that character in the sculpt, but something about it just sort of, it felt right to do an homage to that. And I don't know, the blending on the coat perhaps could have been smoother, but you know, for a tabletop paint job, it's overall okay. And the red is a bit shiny perhaps, but let's say that he likes glossiness in his outfit. The rest of these are from the Giants in Miniature, and these two are English officers. This one here is Lord Kitchener, who was Minister of War during the first part of this First World War. He died in 1916. And I've painted him in a pretty normal drab English uniform color with another brown for the belts and so forth. Not a lot of variety, unfortunately, but I had to be realistic. This is Lieutenant Colonel Durnsford, who was an officer during the Boer War. I think he led a cavalry unit, and he died during a famous battle where there's apparently some debate among historians whether he was heroic or foolhardy. I'm not going to weigh in on that, but that's what he looks like. And then we have some older gents here. First off, Napoleon Bonaparte. In this case, in a blue uniform, with some other little details. And John Churchill, the first Duke of Marlborough, who is from an older era even than that, with his big wig. And yeah, I don't offhand recall anything that this guy was famous for. You can look it up if you like. So that actually finishes off all the minis I have from this range, the War Games Illustrated Giants and Miniatures range. They have more minis in that range. I mean, the ones I've painted up represent about half the range, I think. And I don't know. I mean, they're pretty good. I mean, as I've said, they're not amazing, especially the faces are not super great sculpts. But as representations of historical figures go, I mean, they're pretty good. And, you know, maybe I'll pick up some more in the future. But for now, let's see what's on the painting. Now, here's those Harwood Hobbies cultists that I showed you last week, prepped and primed. They look a bit different from each other, and that's because I had a few qualms about these. I mean, I've painted some Harwood miniatures before and liked them pretty well, but this particular set, I was a little annoyed that they were a bit inconsistent. See, probably some of them are older sculpts. I mean, I think some of these were not actually new to the Kickstarter. Some of them were add-ons of older stuff. But let me show you. For example, these cultists are of different scales. I mean, the one on the left is a lot chunkier and slightly taller than the other. And the way they were cast was different because these guys came with integral bases, so I had to glue them on and cover that up right away. These guys came with no bases, so I'm pinning those, and I've started making separate bases for them. But even within the new guys, this dude here on the left is a lot bigger than all the others. And that was odd. Now, as for this particular fellow who I've checked, and his name the Duke, why the hand was separate, I discovered it because he has alternate hands that could be used, but I didn't order any of them. You had to purchase those separately, so that's why I didn't have any of them in the bag. And because he could have a gun or a cross, but I thought that was silly. It was much cooler just to have this hand in the sort of spell-casting gesture. I'm not sure if you can see what he's doing there, but he's doing something. And finally, we have this monstrosity here, which I hope I've discussed the joints. This leg and these two tentacles were separate, and gluing them on was a bit of a pain, but I managed it. It was not really well designed to go together. There's been a lot of gap filling, but oh well. We managed. Anyway, that is the batch of stuff I have to paint until next week. And I think it's about time I got started on the actual Achtung Cthulhu minis, like the ones actually branded with the name. And I've shown you, I think, the arrival of my big box of rules and minis before. And so you know that I had both some allies and some Nazis, and I'm gonna get started with the good guys. These packs are the investigators and the Badger's Commandos and so forth. There's actually fewer good guy minis than there are bad guy minis, in the total, in the range. Fancy that. But I have almost equal amounts. I'm gonna get started with the player characters and their allies. And oh boy, do I have a lot of stuff to show you in the inbox this week. This is actually, I've gathered together 2 different orders I placed into one box because they're all Heresy miniatures. Heresy ran a sale for a long time this spring because they needed to raise money, and so they had at least 10% off on just about everything, and also I could get free shipping as well, so that was a really good deal. Also, I needed to pick up some stuff from them anyway, like green stuff and bases and the like. And of course I want to support them because I find them to be a really good company. They make really good miniatures, good sculpts. And so I splurged on a lot of minis that I don't really need right now, but I thought they might be nice to have, and I might as well get them because, you know, with all these crises that they keep having, they might go out of business soon, and I want to make sure that I can get all the miniatures from them that I want before then. So what you're looking at here is one of their resin models, which is some kind of earth elemental. Most of these are metals. Now, this big bag of baggies, you can't really tell because they're so undifferentiated. This was the complete pack of the post-apocalyptic gangers. I painted a few of those before, but now I got all 25 of them in one pack. I think, oh, this baggie is also a lot of their weapons, I believe, and bases. And I'm not going to pull them all out. I'll show you them some other time when it's time to paint them. And I also got a lot more sci-fi minis. These are, I think, some sort of sci-fi bureaucrats and officials of various kinds. This is, I don't know if it's the ship's crew or the smugglers or the like. They had a sub-range of minis that were clearly supposed to be takes on the Firefly crew, the Serenity crew, but with different names and not exactly the same. But you know, the basic idea of having a captain who's a bit of a rogue and a female mechanic, and you know, etc., etc. I'm not sure if these are more of the gangers. Yeah, possibly. And even more here. Oh, so maybe they weren't all in one baggie. Anyway, the only non-sci-fi minis I picked up were the Halfling collection. They have 4 Halfling miniatures, and I got them all in one set for an even lower price. So, yeah. This is making my numbers go even more into the red, and as I've warned you, there'll be even more of that in the coming weeks. You know, let's unpack just a few of these to show you what the sculpts are like. So here, for example, is sci-fi. Dude. I'm not sure where the focus is, but it's probably somewhere around here. You can see the quality of the sculpting. So this is a guy holding a cup. A very muscly guy. I think he's the big beefcake of the ship's crew. Anyway, that's just a small example. whenever I get around to painting these, I will of course show them off more completely. That was the show for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Click like, subscribe if you did, comment if there was anything worth commenting, and I'll see you next week. Until then, I'm Dr. Jan, and I'm signing off.